Welcome back to Take It or Heave It, your indie rock review show. I'm Wes Soltis, this is Ryan Peters.
Every week we review indie and alternative rock albums and let you know whether or not you want to take them or to heave them.
Right now you're listening to Hush Your Mouth by the Dark Romantics. This five-piece from Florida is releasing their second album on Lugo Records. Heartbreaker will be out September 9th. Now, I know the Dark Romantics are trying to make this electro rock goth type album that has depressing lyrics, but that doesn't mean that you can't write a catchy hook. I'm going to have to heave it.
So for me, one of the things that I actually liked about the Dark Romantics album, or at least appreciated about the band, was the way that they tried to combine electronic gloss with a really stripped down indie melody. It's almost kind of like you really like the Knot Twist, and they do the same thing. I just don't think that the Dark Romantics are very successful.
Yeah, where you see the Knot Twist is good and can write a catchy song. The Dark Romantics really can't do that. I thought the whole album just didn't have anything catchy to it at all, really.
There's one song that I liked called Hush Your Mouth, which was really propulsive, and I thought the chorus was kind of catchy, but for the most part, I appreciate the musicianship without actually caring about the music at all. So I'd agree with you. There's not enough hooks on the album. So for me, I think that the Dark Romantics have strong musicianship, but the detached atmospherics and the kind of glossy electronic feel make it so that you just can't get into the songs that they're playing. I'm going to heave it.
Right now you're listening to Singer-Songwriter by Okkervil River. This is their fifth record on Jaguar. It comes out on September 9th.
Your great-grandfather was a great lawyer, and his kid made amends off the war.
I think the most interesting part of the stand-ins is how it creates the cinematic feel by not only talking about, making movies and plays, but using musical interludes, much like a play would, to change scenes. It's definitely a keeper.
So, I don't know if you know this, but the Okkervil River album is actually the second part of what was supposed to originally be a double album.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out last year, right?
Uh-huh.
And then they released this one, the stand-ins, and it's about these people that are actually stand-ins in a play or movie or whatever.
It's got like a theatrical vibe to it.
Yeah, to me it kind of felt like in terms of in scale, like the grand scale of it, it reminded me a lot of The Crane Wife.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like The Crane Wife, but like that's what I had going through my head is like the same like vision almost.
And I don't even think that the Decemberists are a bad reference point because the Decemberists are able to pull in a lot of different influences and it still is their own sound. And I think the same is true for Okkervil River. In that, there's blues, there's, chamber pop, there's a whole lot of stuff going on, but it always sounds like this band.
Yeah, no matter what, it's a keeper.
It's real good stuff. Early on in the Okkervil River album, lead singer Will Sheff says, "I'm alive, but in a different way." And I think that's probably a good way to think about such an original, vibrant album. The band manages to pull in from a lot of different influences without ever sounding inauthentic, which is what I think makes the music sound so organic and real, and what makes it such a good album. I'm going to take it.
You're listening to Block My Eye by Death Vessel. Nothing is Precious Enough for Us came out on August 19th and is the follow-up to Stay Close, both on Sub Pop Records. While many artists have played with Death Vessel, this is essentially a one-man band from Brooklyn, Joe Thibodeau. While the lyrics are very cryptic, Thibodeau's unique, childlike, innocent voice makes for an interesting concept. The album also has a myriad of guest performers that goes about a dozen deep. It's not happy, it's not depressing, but it's a keeper.
So, obviously, the first thing that anybody's going to notice about this album, or once they kind of become aware of it, is the fact that it's not a girl or like a 12-year-old boy singing.
Even if you see a picture, though, he has long brown hair. You could kind of pass from a girl from a distance.
He's a effete, yeah.
What I think is interesting is that, he has this sweet, innocent voice, but the lyrics are pretty daunting. And, dark, and, it's about death and dying and things like that.
No, I mean, if you get past the voice, and you can actually listen to the musicianship, the songs are really, really well written. I enjoyed it. Nothing is Precious, Thibodeau's distinctive kind of soprano falsetto singing style mixes with they call it neo-folk, or it's almost kind of like country pop, to create a really bright sound. But like Wes mentioned, the lyrics are really, really dark. And if you can get past the vocals, it makes for a really interesting combination. It's at least worth a listen, so I'm going to take it.
This is 31 Knots with The Breaks off their August 19th release, Worried Well. This trio from Portland, Oregon is releasing their 4th album on polyvinyl, but their 9th release overall.
Vacation begins, just do what they say. Best to know your place and to take it.
While I really like 31 Knots' war cry-esque vocals, sometimes the buffet of different sounds of experimental music is a little too draining for me.
So I find it kind of interesting that you don't like this kind of experimental music because you like bands like Fuck Buttons, where it's the same thing. It's a lot of different, almost abrasive kind of influences put together.
You know, I don't know really what it is, but on this album there's some weird tempo things going on, and I think that threw me off. I understand that, you know, they're great musicians, they're really good at what they do.
Yeah.
I think it's just every one of them comes from a different background, and their theme's not really developed yet. And you know, they're a couple albums in now. They should have at least a theme now and realize what they want to do. Yeah, and I think they're almost getting there, but...
See, I don't know. I mean, I can hear what you're saying, where it's not necessarily like the band doesn't always feel unified or like they're all going in the same direction, but I never really feel like that is going to derail the music. I enjoyed it a lot. I like kind of like experimental rock, or, you know, it's kind of like what they call it, like math rock sometimes. 31 Knots definitely does sound like many distinctive parts rather than one unit working together, but I think that actually adds texture and depth to the kind of rock and roll foundation that the songs are all built on. It's a really aggressive, energetic album, and I'm going to take it.
Let's recap, shall we? For The Dark Romantic, Ryan and I were both bored by the band's lack of melody. For Okkervil River, we both loved this diverse, energetic album. For Death Vessel, Ryan and I think that if you can deal with the vocals, you'll enjoy the songwriting. And for 31 Knots, I thought the band sounded disjointed, but Ryan liked their experimental rock.
Thanks for watching this week's edition of Take It or Heave It, your indie rock review show. I'm Ryan Peters. This is Wes Soltis.
Be sure to tune in next week, where we're going to get some CDs from the Mary Andrews Show and review them. Do they have good musical taste? I guess we'll find out.
True that.
HEAVEmedia.com would like to thank the Polish Ambassador for creating our theme music. If you'd like to know more, go to PolishAmbassador.com.
Shop it on topic.